quench it from my coffee, so let's get you up here so I can go back down and get it. Our first speaker is working on his effective project for level 4. He's already on level 4 of the engaging humor path, the question and answer session. He will speak for 5 to 7 minutes, followed by a 3 to 4 minute question and answer session. Please welcome Marvin with his speech titled, "Where Are You Going?"
Mijo, stay right here if you want to see your father. Don't make any noise, don't cry. This was my uncle as he left my brother and I on one side of the river. I was 5 years old. My brother was 3 years old. He went back across the river to get my mother, who didn't know how to swim. She had a tube, but she was scared to go across because the river might have taken her. This was 1980, October 1980 to be exact. Our first experience being or coming to the U.S. Earlier that year, February of 1980, my father lost his job in El Salvador. There were many protests. The business that he worked for closed down. That's why he lost his job. He was devastated. His brother, my uncle, came back from overseas doing some work, and he told my father, why not go to the U.S.? See that there's opportunity there, especially since there's a lot of civil unrest happening in El Salvador. There was bus burning, there was a big difference between the socialists who wanted more for the country and then the 1% that had the riches of the country but were trying to more or less suppress the rest of the country. And that was really the initiation of the civil war in El Salvador. My mother and father made that decision really for them and for us, for our future. And I can't thank them enough for that decision. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have 4 kids. I wouldn't be married for 25 years had they not made the decision to come across. And it was even more difficult for my father because with my uncle, they went on buses all the way to Mexico. But at Mexico, they had trials and tribulations there because not only were they being followed by some robbers, at one point, when they were being followed, they went into a jungle, a wooded area, and they had to jump into a river because they didn't want to be robbed, of course. For a period of time, they had a long straws, so they were breathing out of straws in the river to avoid being seen by these robbers. I can't imagine how difficult that must have been for my father and my uncle. But once they got out, my mother tells me that my father had enormous blisters from the probably hundreds of miles that they walked. He told my uncle at one point while he was in the forest, go ahead and go on without me. My uncle, knowing how he is, and he's, you are crazy. I am not going to leave you here. So they changed shoes and they were able to come across and make it. He then sent my uncle back for us and we were able to come along with him. Now, my point in this story is not to for you guys to feel sorry for me. This is where I came from. It's good knowledge to have because it's about the struggles that I've been through and my family has been through. But this is more about where I have been and where I'm going. I have consciousness of what I did or what happened in the past. But what's important right now in my message to everyone is, where are you going? Where I'm going, I think there's a lot of opportunity in the future. And no matter where you come from, it's good to have that in your consciousness, but where you're going, it doesn't matter where you came from. So know where you're going and progress and proceed to where you want to be. That's my message to you. Know where you came from, but have a direction and know where you're going. With that, I'll transition over to the question and answer session. We can restart time. And I'll open it up for some questions.
So,
yes, David.
He's
on it today.
The trip that your father and uncle took, they took it before the rest of the family came across?
Correct. That's
So
correct.
preliminary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, Wes.
Were your family fleeing, you think, more political problems in El Salvador or economic, or a combination?
I think it was a combination of both, because definitely economic, because my father had lost his job and there was really no other opportunities because of the civil unrest, and then political because they were starting to see the uprising, the difficulties between the two sides.
They were fighting.
Yeah.
Where do you want to end up? You said you were going somewhere. Where do you want to end up in the end?
Yeah. Same question. That was literally the same question.
Where do I want to go in the end? It's a journey for sure, because there are a lot of things that I want to do in life, and one of the things, for example, is become a professional speaker, become a coach, and I'm doing that right now as a coach. For example, on Tuesday, I went to my daughter, the one that's in 9th grade, that spoke at her school to encourage students, talk to them about careers and also motivation.
Yes.
And the teachers asked me if I could come back. Really, if I can share the knowledge with students and encourage them to be something that they weren't expecting to be, that's a mission accomplished right there. I want to continue to do that. Thank you. Yes, Michelle.
You were 5 when that adventure happened?
Yes, that's
An
it.
adventure.
Yes.
Do you remember any of it, like, actually, or just from stories?
Really from stories. I know, and I think that my memory is created from the stories that I've been told, because I really don't have much recollection of. I remember, I think when my uncle brought us over to the other side on an inner tube, one of those pneumatic tubes that we used to go in the river here in Florida. He said it was like an adventure for us. We didn't know anything about what was going on, so they just brought us. It was a nice trip, but now you realize, wow, the impact of those series of events is significant for all of us. Yes, David.
In your story, there was a struggle that happened while you were on your journey to get to the promised land. Do you believe that also occurs in our everyday lives? Do you believe that's a necessity that we have to go through some type of struggle or trial in order to get there?
It doesn't have to be a necessity, but it often is, because I tell my kids, oh, if you knew, you guys haven't really been challenged. And that's why I also tell my wife, we need to let them struggle a little bit, or else they won't appreciate. I know it happens with any of us. It's human nature. If you get something for free, you don't appreciate it as much as something that you pay for, that you work hard for. So that's why maybe the struggle is part of the appreciation and the challenge, because if you can get it for free, you don't appreciate it as much. Michelle, last question? No?
Yeah, last question.
Okay. That is all that I have. Thank you.